Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jim and Sam Town Square. I'm Scott King. Jim and Sam fans know me from the Forbes articles, and I'm joined, as always, by multi-Emmy award-winning television producer Chris Cangilla. This episode recapping week one of May 2024. Chris, we had our Wally's mug. You had your shirt, and we were excited to see if Jim went or not. And he went, and was a little bit underwhelmed. He didn't really enjoy himself too much at the old Wally's. I mean, you experienced it. You got the goodies. What were you surprised by that? What did you like about it?
Well, what I liked about it is what Jim should have liked about it. Nice bathrooms, of course, and just clean and a lot of good treats and sodas and all that kind of stuff. Now, he already experienced Buc-ee's before he went to Wally's, and I guess Buc-ee's is a lot bigger. I haven't been to one. They're primarily in Texas area. I do know they put one in Colorado recently, so when I head back and see the family, I might head up there and check out a Buc-ee's. But no, it was a little disappointed that he didn't enjoy it as much as I did, and I can't wait. Hopefully, you'll be able to go to that big one in off of I-80 in Iowa City. So anyway, he was disappointed, but he did find some treats. I think he enjoyed some popcorn, but he made a little faux pas when he's telling it, and he said he liked popcorn. He had a little stammer there, and the guys were making fun of him, but it was good. And then he saw, some Fago dispensaries, some fountain sodas that Sam absolutely would love. If you had to choose, what would you like the most out of what you've heard from a Wally's?
Wally's. I've never tried Fago, so I really want to try it.
Oh, it's so good. It's
Um,
so sweet, but very good.
Oh, so you have tried it. Yeah, I mean, just Sam talks about it so much. Even I think Jim wanted to try it. I would want to try. I just don't know if would I go berry. I'm a berry guy. I do like I'm starting like Jim. I do like I do like some oranges as well. So we'll see. He didn't enjoy too much, but another story from the road. He did get some room service as he tends to do. We know he can't find stuff late at night after a show. Just wanted a salad. He got the salad, but he was hoping for a little more from his room service server. He was hoping to get a secret. What was that secret?
Yeah, I guess Jim saw some crowds outside of his hotel. And of course, Jim's a man of means, so he stays at a nice hotel. I think it was a Conrad this time in Indianapolis. And so he saw some crowds of people, maybe that they had a ball. He said a football, but it could have been a basketball. And turns out that he was just, he was about an hour it took for Sal to come up, and it came up wrong, of course. And I can kind of see how Jim would do this. Jim was just making, chat, with the guy that brought it and said, so it's busy tonight. What do we got in the hotel? And the guy said, I'm not allowed to tell. Now, I see both sides of this not being allowed to tell. He's doing what he's supposed to. And the guy's brought up how, Jim would like to, preserve his privacy in this kind of thing. But also, Jim's already in the hotel. He's already one of the VIP guests. He probably has a really nice room. So I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that really torments some famous people. So Jim decided not to overtip this man. He gets a tip, but not an overtip.
Yeah, it was one of those already gratuity included in the receipt. I like that Jim wanted the information so bad. He usually gives extra. He did not. I absolutely love it. I feel like when you go somewhere, business or hotel, usually like people will brag, like, oh, so and so's here, and he
Right.
knew someone was there. I mean, I understand his frustration, but I also love how much he needed the secret. It was
Exactly. And
that
then,
was
of
great.
course, he just, he has to complain. And I think he even called down to the front desk about his issue. And just it hit home with me hearing that story this week because I was just up this past Saturday. My daughter graduated from college up in Michigan, and I took my wife, my son, and my 75-year-old mother-in-law, so my daughter's grandmother, with us. And long story short, we went to graduation. We were going to go to dinner. Thought we better check in the hotel just to be safe. So we went by, checked into the hotel, got the keys, but did not go to the room. First mistake. We got back to the room after dinner. It was 9 o'clock. Open up the door to the two-bedroom suite, just a sauna. It was 85 degrees in that room. Now, I own my own house. I know how to lower a thermostat. I tried that. It didn't work. It just blew out cold air or cool air, not cold air. And we had, the front desk come. They couldn't do anything. They didn't have a maintenance on staff at 9 p.m. on a Saturday. They finally got the maintenance guy there. He didn't speak English, not his fault, sweet guy, but didn't. So we're using our phones to translate what we're trying to say to each other. long story short, it took about 2 or 3 hours to get to about 75. So it made a horrible night of
Oh my
sleeping. And because I'm like Jim, I went to go see the general manager in the morning. This man wasn't very sympathetic to my cause. And I said to him, you said the guy came, but it takes forever to cool it down. He said, "Oh, I had it fixed in a couple minutes." Yeah, but if it fixed, then it's going to start working. It's going to take a couple hours to cool it down. That kind of got under my skin. And then he said, "Well, think about your house. If you had a dishwasher in your house and it broke, it's just like this. This breaks, things break at time." I go, "Well, the dishwasher is in my house. I own the dishwasher. I own the house. I'm kind of staying at your house. This hotel is your domain. I expect things to work. It doesn't work." He would not budge. He wouldn't compensate me anything. So guess what I did? What would Jim do in a situation like this?
A corporate email.
Yeah, that's correct. I went right to the top to the corporate, wrote a letter, and it's still in process. I might have to fill you in later how it's going, but it's not happening as well as I like. So, Jim has these troubles. I have these troubles in the hotel. My story was entertaining, but I think if Jim told more of these stories, it'd be very entertaining. What do you think?
I think so. We just the manic and sense of how compulsive he is, and Kenny calls ahead to make sure he has the right pillows. So he likes his things. He likes things a certain way. So when there's this fiasco, like a room is crazy hot, that would be quite a story for Jim to tell. And it came up. Should Jim do
Right.
hotel reviews? I think that he should like manually do them on like a TripAdvisor site or something. And then also he should do a YouTube show where he like reads his review and you see like the screen grab of it and also like talk you through the story. Like I think that'd be a great YouTube series if Jim
I
could.
mean, Sam always comes up with these fantastic ideas. I think it's one of Sam's best gifts. He sees things as, oh, this would make a good show. This would
Yeah,
make a good
content. Yeah.
bit. He's great at that. And so, yeah, I think if Jim uses those glasses, like Sam says, to record stuff, uses his phone to record things when they're not happening, not embarrassing anybody, not showing the waiter, but showing the problems that he's experiencing, and then puts together a video that goes on YouTube, it would be so entertaining. Or even these little TikTok things that we see all the
Yeah.
time, it'd be great.
Yeah, he makes everything funny. So I think it would be, speaking of people who make things funny on a type of broadcast, Sam is the one, I think he brought it up originally, and the guys keep kind of going over whenever there's a new bit from the NBA pregame show. But Sam, I think, was the one who brought Barkley and the big old women in San Antonio, which makes Shaq laugh. To the show, and that's one of those things we talked about. I think it was the last show we talked about documentaries and recommendations we get from the show that a lot of them we actually really enjoy. This is one of those things that if I see a clip online and it looks like it's a joke or a gag, I'm watching it because Barkley is hilarious. I love how he just tries to make Shaq laugh. Nothing like the big old women in San Antonio. And this time it was Galveston. I forgot what he
Right.
said, but I think he was talking
It
about
was
the
about
water.
the
They had bad
water.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Dirty water, scummy water.
right. And they had to
Yeah.
apologize because I think it's Beyonce from there or something, but
Yeah. And then
it was a
he just
Barkley apology.
Yeah, and Shaq just keeps on dragging it out of him. He just kind of like how Sam will, irritate somebody enough that they keep on going and just stir the pot. Shaq stirs the pot of that crew, and they even talked about how great that crew that's on air there for the NBA. It's a wonderful thing, and even if you're not a huge NBA fan, they are extremely entertaining.
Absolutely. Speaking of things that are extremely entertaining, um, we have been hearing the songgasms, not just on the show from time to time, kind of pretty regularly, but also on a loop in our head. And it was fun to hear Sam has that situation. And this week, I forget, I keep thinking it's an old song because it has that old sound to it, but just a 1 year old. It's 1 year
Yeah.
old this week.
I thought it just came out a couple months ago, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it has the sound, of course, because it's smoky.
Yeah.
But
Smokey
yeah, it came
Robinson.
out a year ago. It felt like a couple months to me. But I'll tell you what, it rears its ugly head, and I will say that because it gets in your head. It comes up frequently on the Jim and Sam show. I think it came up 3 separate times at least during this week. One of them was one of my favorites when they were talking a little bit about the diss tracks, and I don't really know a lot about those things, but they're playing one from Drake, and then they're going to play one from Kendrick Lamar, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
And he goes in and they go, okay, we'll play Kendrick Lamar's version. And of course, they play Gasms instead. Perfect use. They called it the Disgasm. And then when Ian was in, he inadvertently was talking about things that in his ears that give him excitement. and they talked about eargasm. So it's always around. It's just going to be something that we see all the time, and it's made its way into the vernacular of the show.
100%. And speaking of old school musicians that Jim has taken a fancy to, brought up Tony Orlando this weekend. I think he was talking about some of his songs, and we saw him on social media. I think it was on Instagram, put out a picture of the song he was listening to. But he paid Tony quite a compliment. Remember that was?
Yeah, Tony's a bad dude. Everybody's like, what? No, 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 Tony's a bad dude. I wasn't sure if he's doing Doug or if he's doing Jim, but yeah, I think Tony's a bad dude. Just the songs, and he's like, yeah, he's got like, I'd go see him. They had him on the show because Jim liked him so much. They had him phone in. He's got so many hits. He's got like 4 hits, maybe, if they're lucky. And he does mostly covers in his show. So they were just giving Jim grief about the whole time. And you might know his, knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want that song. And boy, they had a funny bit on there. Jim said, I don't like that part in that song where, it says like knock on the pipe because I don't like that pipe part of the song. And Sam said, well, in your new relationship, you probably should like the pipe. And Jim said, no, no, I just like the pump, pump, pump. I was like, God, stop it, you two.
Oh
And
man.
Sam just goes in this uncharted territory that's a little bit more free this time to give Jim grief. So that was fun.
We'll get to it in our guests, but best guest. But there was a lot of kind of that uncomfortable talk this week,
Yes, there was.
which made me laugh. Speaking of all things Jimmy, it was this week. I mean, 20 years of Jimmy on XM radio, and he kind of clarified that it was a couple years on terrestrial before that. And man, that is a quite a radio career. We know the acting he's done. We know the legendary stand-up career. I mean, if you're just a radio guy, that's a great living. I go back on YouTube, listen to old O&A, even some old Jim and Sam at this point, and just so much to choose from. It's such a radio legend, right?
Yeah, I was going when he was talking about that, I was trying to go back and see when I really started listening to these guys. And I listened to Howard on was it WCKG? Was that what the station was here in Chicago? 105.9? Was that
That
CKG?
sounds familiar.
Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And Howard's on there, and then Howard left. David Lee Roth came on. So I was like, I don't know what I was listening to. And then they replaced David Lee Roth on terrestrial radio. So I listened to them a little bit because I didn't have Sirius satellite or anything. And so when I bought a car in I think it was 2011, I got the free XM, Sirius.
Mhm.
And Howard didn't come with that package, right? So I wasn't going to listen to Howard, but it did have the upgraded package to listen to Opie and Anthony. And that's when I fully fell in love with these guys. So 2011. So for me, that's, 15, almost 15 years, right? Is that something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it might have been the same day that I started, right around that time. 2011 is when I got
Yep.
on board too. I was going to interview Jimmy, so I was doing research and been listening to
I'm
that
sorry.
world.
Can I back it up first?
Yeah.
You had the thing to interview Jimmy before you actually started listening to the guys as a fan, or no?
Yeah, yeah. Like
Wow,
so
I didn't know that.
2010, I think it was like 2010, 2011. He had one of the best shows I've ever seen. It was him, Bill Burr, Jim Brewer, David Tell Closed for Just for Laughs in Chicago. And I had a comedy blog at the time, Chicago Now, free website for the Tribune. And I was getting pitches to interview the guys. And I think I interviewed every guy in the show.
I
Maybe
had no idea you knew of Jimmy as a stand-up before you knew of him on Opie
oh
and
yeah,
Anthony. I
because
had
you go
no
back
idea.
to I was in high school was Tough Crowd. I watched Tough Crowd all the
Yeah,
time.
I remember I
Yeah,
watched Tough Crowd a little bit myself. Never really knew any of those guys except
yeah,
for
yeah.
Colin. I knew Colin from MTV and Remote Control and that kind of stuff. But I didn't really know many of those guys at all. And I had no idea that you became a Jimmy fan long before you became an Opie and Anthony fan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was a fan of his stand up for sure, and then want to interview him, and then I'm like, okay, this is a whole nother aspect of him, and this show
Yeah,
is the best thing ever. So,
it
but
was.
now we could argue that Jim and Sam is the best
I
radio
enjoy it.
show ever. So yeah, 20 years for Jim, 20 years for Jimmy, and in Sam's universe, this is just one of those things that I love that people who are fans like us send Sam these videos. I call them videos of chaos. Sam loves videos of chaos when someone is missing a cruise ship. I mean, there's like a sadness to that too that Sam laughs at. He doesn't feel that sadness for the person or empathy. He laughs, and he also loves. And I kind of do want to watch these. I don't know if I'm sick as well. When a what do you call it when a bus or a truck just the roof comes off? It gets roofed
Yeah, a
on a
can
bridge
opener, it
overpass.
just kind of peels back going underneath the
Yeah,
viaduct.
can
It's too
opener or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. it's funny because sometimes I think of Sam being, I think, and we'll get into how Ian felt about the guys, but sometimes I look at Sam and I'm more like Sam in a lot of the ways, and I identify with him more. And then I sometimes identify with Jim. I think I identify with Sam more until it comes to him finding humor in people's misfortune. I think that's a really dark side of Sam. Now, do I think it's funny as well? I do, but I think Sam would let something like that happen just so he could get the humor out of it, which is pretty effed up if you ask me, but
It
still,
is. It
still pretty
is.
good. So yeah, they brought up this in Boston, going to the airport. There's this low bridge that is well lit and told it's a low, don't go down this road, trucks, blah blah blah. And I guess it's on a street called Stowed or something like that. So everybody that goes down there and gets their truck caught underneath there is called getting stowed or something like that. And they talk about all these college parents that take their children to college in the rented vans and trucks, and they don't know any better, and it happens all the time. Now, I did give Sam a lot of grief by being mean, but I also too think it's kind of funny. So as long as it's not happening to anybody I know or myself.
As long as no one gets hurt in the
There you go.
situation,
That's
which probably might not. I mean, it might happen sometimes, but
yeah,
just
no,
watch the video and
yes,
see.
exactly. They're good.
Uh, no segue here, except that this is something we recently both talked about our trips to the Comedy Cellar. I don't think I had the wings, but I feel like Jim has been talking about the Comedy Cellar wings for years. And we know, and actually there's been a development with the soiree I want to add for us to talk about after this, but
Yeah.
uh the soiree has fallen between the cracks also for years
Years,
now
years,
years,
years.
and
You rock.
we are hearing about the wings, and they want to plan a guy. I don't know if this started last week, but
Yeah.
or this week, but they were getting to go where they were going to go as we record Thursday night to the Comedy Cellar, and then come Thursday morning to go have the wings, catch a show, catch the wings, and Travis says, "Oh, I got plans." He wouldn't divulge his plans. He kind of yelled at Troy from Troy's like, What are you doing?" And I mean, there's that it was just left as is. They're hoping to go Friday, and then Matt Biggins calls in. He's trying to talk them into going Thursday. So we have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to go at all. If they're going to go Thursday, Friday. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know, but I will tell you this is my favorite thing that happened this week. I
It's
didn't
up there.
expect it to have this conversation, but this conversation took up most of that first break, that
Yep.
first half of the show, and I was loving it. First, Travis was more of an S head than I've seen him be lately in this. Just wasn't, he's got stuff. Now I understand, he's got stuff with his daughter or his wife. Maybe she's getting an award and I don't know, who knows. But he had to go do something like that. But then, it's just like it's important for the guys to beat all together and they want him to be there and to come back on a Friday. I mean, Sam started getting pissed too because now you have to come back to the city. So they're just giving him grief, and it was so great. I don't think Matt Biggins has ever called in to the Jim and Sam show. I don't know. Maybe he has, but when he called
No,
in
that's a good call. I was thinking
and
about that. That
yeah,
might be, and they didn't make a big deal of it. If it was, that might be the first time he's ever called into the
I
gym.
want more Matt Biggins.
I
He's
think it is.
funny. I told you about the seven when we interviewed,
Yes.
his wife
Interview.
and Sam. Yeah, he's hilarious. I think he's great. And for him to call in and just beat up Travis, I was ready for it, and he would make a great substitute for Travis instead of Travis going. And then they planned
Might
out this
happen.
whole fake out thing, where Sam said, "Okay, we actually will go tonight, but let's keep it quiet." And then Fridays, Travis will show up by himself, and he'll be eating wings by him. Just this whole visual thing of this whole thing they planned out was awesome, and I
Yeah.
think they'll go, and I think they'll go Friday because
I
they just
prefer, even though it'd be funny with Matt, maybe Matt can go Friday, but I do want the guys together for it. I
yeah,
mean,
I
it's
do
one of
too.
those things like if you get families, you get together with friends, like, why don't we do this all the time? Why don't those guys go to the cellar and have wings all the time and watch Jim and these other
Yeah.
amazing comedians? It's things getting away, but that would be awesome. Speaking of things, did you have something to add, Chris? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just was gonna say that, I think it's important that they're all together, it wouldn't have the same
Yeah,
dynamic, but I would like to have Matt with the guys
I
only
agree.
because Travis was, he was mouthing off a little bit during this part of this show about Matt and not being as manly as Matt. And they mentioned that maybe Travis would end up the evening if Matt had a little too much to drink with his glasses broken and on the floor. I don't condone any violence, but I would think it's very funny they were a little bit in each other's faces.
Yeah,
Travis would back down
we're talking
instantly.
about. I think Jim said his teeth in his pocket, his broke
Yes,
glasses, getting on the wrong boat back to Staten Island.
exactly.
That'd be
Exactly.
awesome.
Now, before we get into the rest of where this is going,
Yeah.
first of all, we'll talk about the soiree, but
Yeah.
there's somebody that could be going to this Wings
Oh
Fest,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
will, that makes me upset. Why is Hot Dog going to this? I don't want Hot Dog there. He's
I
annoying
don't know
to
that he's
me. It
going.
just,
I want to get your
ugh,
I want to get your prediction. I don't know
yeah,
that he's going because speaking of SC Travis, he said he it could have been a joke, but it also sounded a little serious when he goes, he's not invited. When Hot Dog's just trying to like text,
right.
he's texting Jimmy like Jimmy's like his frat brother, like we doing a thing. I mean, we know he goes there all the time to try to impress ladies that have no interest in him.
Yeah. But they
On
say
Jim's
that
coattails, but I don't know if
what
he's
they
gonna.
say he kind of pretends to be like. What movie was that?
Oh,
He
yeah, Henry Hill, like he's going to the Copa in
that was such
Goodfellas,
a
like the
great
cellar.
visual.
Like they roll
You know,
out the
they
table for
roll
him,
out
and
bring it out the table and make the
yeah,
room and put it down there. He thinks he's a big swinging S, you know.
yeah.
I don't know what a big swinging
I
S is,
don't
big
think he's
swinging
gonna
D.
go. I think the guys will think it's funnier to not include him, so that's
Yeah,
how they will act accordingly.
I
I
hope
think
so.
he's
I
gonna be
don't.
doxxed.
He hasn't. Yeah, he doesn't deserve it. I
He might show up anyways, but
God,
I don't think he's gonna make it with the guys. He's not welcome. Let's say that.
and if he does show up, they must leave him with the check like they
Oh,
said they're going to do.
like a
Yeah,
rookie
just like this is
NFL
what yeah,
or
you want to be with the
NHL
group.
dinner.
You make him wear the Dora backpack like they do with the pitchers and
Yeah, right.
and then he said something else that Sam said that doesn't make sense. Like anytime they're going anywhere and it's ready to go, they go, "Let's mosey."
Oh, let's mosey. Oh.
Yeah, mosey is a slow pace walk. So if you're ready to get going, you want to say let's book it. Let's get going, That's
Yeah,
fast.
mosey
You don't
makes no
want to
sense there.
that's mosey. He tries to be cool. And at least Sam recognizes that because he'll say, we got to listen to what Jake Paul says about something first before
That's a
we
great
find
line.
out what Hot Dog wants to do.
That's a great line.
So we should
Uh,
talk a little bit about the soiree, right?
yeah, it's just it has been years, and I don't like the guys. I just don't want to get my heart broken again. I think Jim said, yeah, Nikki's like, let's have people over this weekend. I think talking about like her friends or their friends outside the show.
Right,
And Jim has been trying this week to make this wing thing happen. Travis
right.
got in the way maybe for Thursday, and with undisclosed plans. Jim has kind of steadily, time to time, brought up the soiree again. Now he's saying he wants to grill. They had what's his name, Grillmaster Paul?
Yep.
Is
Big
that the guy?
Paul.
What that's his name?
Big Paul
Big
something.
Paul. Yeah, they
Bill
call him Big Paul the Grill Master or something. Sounds like a great guy.
called in.
Maybe he could be a guest on our show. Yeah, he called in. He's like a grill influencer. Sounds like a really cool dude who's willing to help Jim out, and he can even grill pizzas.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he
yeah,
has a contact with Troy, and Troy's having him just do everything. Like Jim's like, we'll have burgers and hot dogs, and Troy's like, and tomahawk steaks, those big expensive ribeyes. I just like
yeah, right. Like what can we get out
making
of this
pizza,
influencer
yeah,
guy?
all that kind of stuff.
I
Yeah,
just,
I hope it happens. 2 weeks from this weekend is what they think it might
yeah,
be,
yeah, they did say that.
and get into the seating arrangements and the chairs and what he has. I love how manic Jim gets about it. I just want it to happen so we can share in it, virtually with the guys.
I want to say it's going to happen this time, but
I do. We've
I
been
have
we've
to look
been
at his website. He's on the road. I want to say he has shows like May 10th and
I
11th on
know he's
the
in.
road. I was
Yeah.
looking
So
at his
this is
site recently.
yeah. This is May 2nd. I know he's in like Buffalo and Pittsburgh, May 10th,
Yeah,
11th
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of situation. But I think he's free that following weekend, which would be like 17th, 18th, 19th,
Yeah,
something like
that he
that.
mentioned. So,
We'll see.
all right, we'll
I'll
see.
tell
Now
you.
we got Paul involved. There's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of moving parts that
If
he's
you
got to
look back
include.
to the history of the town square, I think we started talking about the soiree about this time last year because I remember it was going to be like
Early
over
on.
Memorial Day. It was going to be in May.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
when Jim started promising it. So we'll
Man, all right. I
see.
hope it happens. I
Me
think it
too.
might. Let's get to. There's actually some, three, four guests this week,
Yeah.
and it was good because you got some show before. They were all good guests, and you kind of got for some you got some show after.
Yeah.
Um, well, I guess we'll start with Aruba Ray, and I just, you heard about this guy. I think it was they didn't flat out say it, I don't think, but I think it might have been his first time on the show, right?
Yeah, I
Ray
never
Allen.
heard of him before. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never
and
heard
we've
of him
just heard
before.
Bobby Kelly. He loves going there. We heard him talk about him so much, and he was great. It was really cool to hear about the thing in Aruba he set up. Like, I mean, you open up your comic, you open up a comedy room in an amazing vacation destination.
Smart
Everybody knows
idea.
you there. Like, what a great life. Good for him.
Great life. And then he has this really cool podcast where
Oh
he
yeah, yeah.
invites people on and they recap an episode of Little House on the Prairie. Now, I remember watching that as a kid. I'm sure you probably never seen an episode yourself, but I remember watching reruns and it's a wholesome show. So they talk about it, they break it down, and then they see where it parallels their lives. And I think it's just kind of a neat concept to use something that's kind of abstract that people really don't know about, but then has correlations with what's going on. So I thought he was very cool. What else? Who other guests do we have?
Last thing with Ray, I want to say is that it was interesting that like he's talking about how much like comics like Coming Rube and all that, and it was starting to get a little awkward because you're thinking like sounds like he's known Jimmy for a while. Why hasn't Jimmy played there? And then Jim's like, oh, I think Jim did the smart thing to kind of ease the tension, like, oh, I'm probably too dirty for it. And Ray goes, oh, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that. So I don't think there's any animosity there. I think that when
No.
you like, I used to book rooms in Chicago. When you're booking
Yeah.
a room, you have to book people and think about who's right for the room. So I think that's all it is, and maybe
Yeah,
Jimmy will get a shot.
I think I mean, let me ask you this, and you know a
Yeah.
little bit better than I. Is Jimmy, I know Jimmy's dirty, I know Jimmy, but Bob Kelly's not that far off, right?
No, and that's the thing too is I mean, Jim is a guy who, like a lot of prolific comics, works on an hour all year, and that's his material. He says that, for a good comic, crowd works easy. I don't know if Jim wants to go back to like stuff he's done before in the past that's clean. He'd probably have to do that for a show like that. So
Yeah.
I kind of understand why he might not fit
So
now
you
that I
think
think
Bob
about it.
Kelly has dirty shows and clean shows? He just intermixes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he might. If he's playing there a lot, yeah. Or
Yeah.
he's got a clean set. Yeah,
Yeah.
45
And I
minutes.
don't think Jim has a and Jim's he's smart about it. He's like, that's just not me.
Yeah, yeah,
If
yeah, I
I'm
think so.
not authentic if I'm doing a clean set. He's funny because of he's dirty and innuendo. So I mean he's funny no matter what, but
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
saying that, he just hits home runs with that stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Next pair of guests that came in together pretty much is Ian Fidance again, getting some regular Ian, and I'm not complaining about it. And I think he been on with Emma Rose before? I
He
believe
has, and you said they
trans
came.
adult performer, I believe. Correct.
Yes, they came. You said they came in together, and I have to clarify that because there's a big reason why they didn't come in together, or
Oh yeah,
a
right.
big reason we enjoyed them not coming in together. Ian farted right before she came in, and he's in love with her,
Yes,
Ian way.
without.
So he just busted it, and it was bad. And she walked into the whole green cloud, man. It was great. It was so
Yeah.
funny because he got so embarrassed when she was coming down the hall. So they might have not come in together, but they've come together many times.
Thanks for phrasing it that way. Oh
Yes.
yeah, a great segment, very funny, very interesting. And then the last guest on Thursday was Brian Scalero, and another first timer. He said it was his first time, and Jim's always like with the comics. Jim's like, oh, you just text me. I think Jim does do that
Yeah.
for comics as he did for Opie and Anthony. And I remember Brian, like when I was getting in like really kind of making a run at comedy in like the early 2010s, some of his early maybe just one early special on Comedy Central I remember watching, and I remember like God, I must have been like maybe in college or even I don't want to date him too much, maybe high school. I remember after Baywatch, Pamela Anderson's big comeback was supposed to be on this Fox, almost
Right.
Fox sitcom called Stacked, and he was the male lead, and he had these great stories on Thursday about how when he's doing press with Pamela Anderson, he's done some big talk shows. She'd like get him in the picture and tell the
Yeah.
producers he needs to
She's
be at.
cool
Like
about
he
that.
sounds super nice, I thought.
Yeah, he sounded good and he has a, let's just say, a former lifestyle, like Jim had a former
Yeah,
lifestyle,
that's
pretty
cool too.
perverse. And then he also has acted in a lot of different things, man. I was really surprised. And he says he's a little heavier now. I really don't I can't picture him. And I'm not sure if he is, but I mean, he sounded great. He sounded really interesting. So yeah, it was neat to kind of meet two new guys, so to speak, through the
Yeah, I
Jim
like
and
that.
Sam show.
Yeah, and I thought they fit the show good, and they were good interviews and guests. And now let's get to the line of the week. Mine is, I don't know if I'm going to say mine verbatim, and it's a short one, so I do want you to go first
Okay, all right. So
today.
this takes a little bit of setup, and the thing is that I don't know how they got to this part, but they're talking about Johnny Rotten, right?
Okay,
Is that the
right.
Sex Pistols lead singer or something like
I
that?
think
What,
you're right. I want to say you're
something
right.
like that. Anyway, so His wife passed away, and that's very sad. And they really showed how caring he was. Here's this kind of punk rocker, mean guy that just caring, taking care of his wife for so long, and what a good husband he was. And Jim was kind of reflecting on that, and he said, it's just amazing how someone could just sit around and watch somebody decay mentally. And Sam says, "What do you mean? I've been doing it for 8 years. I've been watching that happen for 8 years." Talking about Jim. So I thought that was very funny. And Jim, when Jim gives a big laugh at his own expense, it's gold. So I loved it. What's your line of the
Yes.
week?
Well, you know what else I actually thought today? I don't know what moment it was, but Travis is like the laugh track of the show because he has such
Yes.
a good laugh, and he only laughs at things that are really funny. He's a smart guy. I think Travis is like the comedy
Barometer. Yeah.
conscience of the show. I will say it's always interesting. Mine was maybe you might be able to help me with. I forgot exactly what they were talking about. I think it was Thursday. It was today. Sam was talking about somebody like, oh yeah, he crosses over sometimes, and Jim goes, oh, we know I do.
Yes. Just a short, quick little thing. Yeah. It was
Yeah, exactly. A short, quick one, but it got me going. So great,
it's
great
good
week of
stuff.
shows. Great talking to you as we crank this out here at night. Thank you for making the time. Thank you for all you do behind the scenes, Chris, and thank everyone listening and watching. We really appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. It's fun to do a podcast. We do it for ourselves, and if the listeners like it and they comment, it even makes us feel a lot better, even if some of the comments aren't the best. But we're a little sleepy tonight, and I'll tell you what, doing the show with you kind of woke me up and made me feel good. And we hope that, we help other people feel good about their week and about what they've enjoyed about Jim and Sam and the town square.
Thanks for watching and listening to the Jim and Sam Town Square. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell, not dog bell, so you don't miss an episode.
And if you're just listening to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it.